lifetime of charity work. We'll hear more on the passing of Mother Theresa in a few moments, but we begin tonight in London. After days of silence, Queen Elizabeth made a rare public speech today to express her family's grief over Princess Diana's death. Carl Hanlon has more now on the Queen's remarks and the final preparations for Diana's funeral.
Queen Elizabeth came home to London and reached out to hundreds of mourners at the gates of Buckingham Palace. There were tears in her eyes as she chatted with well-wishers. But the Queen maintained her poise as she spoke live to the nation from the palace balcony. She thanked everyone for their support and praised Princess Diana.
She was an exceptional and gifted human being. In good times and bad, she never lost her capacity to smile and laugh, nor to inspire others with her warmth and kindness.
The Queen used her unprecedented TV address to explain she has been secluded, comforting Diana's grieving sons.
This week at Balmoral, we have all been trying to help William and Harry come to terms with the devastating loss that they and the rest of us have suffered.
Prince William and Prince Harry also put on brave faces as they met mourners with their father. They shook hands with hundreds of grieving people from around the world who offered bouquets and condolences.
Oh, the very best. Could you take those? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your mother will live on in your looks forever.
The royal appearances come on the heels of harsh public criticism, accusing them of indifference. Today's wave of publicity seems to be quieting some critics.
Personally, I think it was right that they stayed where they were.
A massive security operation is already underway on the ground and in the air. Tonight, Diana's funeral cortege departed St. James's Palace, where she has been lying. It traveled to her home at Kensington Palace, where the funeral procession will begin tomorrow. From Kensington, it will wind past Hyde Park and Buckingham Palace, then down the Mall and on to Westminster Abbey across from Big Ben. After the funeral, Diana's body will begin the final journey to her family home in Northamptonshire. She will now be laid to rest in a graveyard outside of the family crypt to accommodate the expected pilgrimages to the site. Carl Hanlon, Global News, London.
Millions around the world who cannot attend Diana's funeral in London are paying tribute to the princess as best they can. Here in Winnipeg, mourners gathered tonight at St. John's Cathedral for a special memorial service. Newsline's Dag Sharman was there.
For a princess they never met, hundreds came to the oldest Anglican church in Western Canada. Dignitaries, church leaders, and people who just wanted to say they care.
I just said that she'd be missed by everybody and she was loved by everybody, and, you know, may she finally find peace. And
some wish to be alone in their grief. For others, it was a chance to show publicly that they care and to celebrate a life.
I just felt that she should have a wonderful send-off. She's such a wonderful person.
It's for Prince Harry and Prince William. They're the ones who we really care for, and we hope it's going to console them. So
I hope now that she has found the love and the peace that she didn't have in this life.
We give thanks to God for the gift of Diana. Nothing that we will do or say tonight will be adequate. It's simply our own offering.
A respectful memorial service of an unprecedented size in this cathedral, about 600 people. So many, some had to watch from the basement. Together they grieved for the princess and mother of two.
She should have had all sorts of years in front of her. It shouldn't have happened to Princess Diana, but I want to say it shouldn't have happened to her any more than it should have happened to anyone else. For no one deserves to die.
she did so much for people. I mean, for the AIDS victims, for the mines, like for everybody. She was just always there, and I think everyone's ready to pay her back.
And perhaps learn some lessons.
Her epitaph could well be her own words when she said last year, "Someone's got to go out there and love people and show it."
In Winnipeg, Dag Sharman, Newsline.
Earlier today, the Queen's historic television address held many Winnipeggers transfixed when the monarch took to the airwaves at noon local time. At the Sears store at Polo Park, customers watched the speech and had this reaction.
It was short, but what else could you do right now? The family is grieving. I know they are.
I thought it was a little brief, really, but other than that, I thought she was pretty sincere about everything. they have their way of showing it, so they're grieving all right.
We'll hear more about Princess Diana and the investigation into her death later in the program. Missionaries, charity workers, and all those who hope to do good in the world are without their most beloved figure of inspiration tonight. Mother Theresa has died in her mission in Calcutta, India. She had been in poor health for several years, but will be best remembered for her lifetime of assistance to the poorest of the poor. John Darby has more.
She was, in the true sense of the word, unique. She was extraordinary, this humble woman whose love and compassion were offered to all, regardless of circumstance, religion, politics. For years, she toiled in obscurity, caring for the destitute of the earth. But in the end, she was to achieve such fame for her selfless work that she would even be welcomed into the nominally atheist Soviet Union to care for the dying. She was born in 1910, the daughter of Albanians living in Yugoslavia. When she was 18, she decided to become a nun. Eventually, she found herself in India, first as a teacher, then caring for the outcast and the dying. The order she founded, the Missionaries of Charity, has grown from one house in a Calcutta slum to more than 500 throughout the world, including Canada. In 1979, Mother Teresa received the Nobel Peace Prize. The $190,000 that went with it would go to further her work with the poorest of the poor. In recent years, there had been occasional criticism of Mother Teresa's conservative views and methods. But for more than half a century, she and her helpers rescued babies found in garbage bins, comforted the lepers, gave food to the hungry, and provided places where the inconceivably neglected could die with some sense of dignity. There is a sign which hangs in the Calcutta home for the dying destitute, which she founded. Let every action of mine be something beautiful for God.
In their own way, there was some skepticism here. But soon she brought up what they had just done across the street.
This is also an opportunity for me, on behalf of my family, and especially Prince Charles and William and Harry, to thank all of you who have brought flowers, sent messages, and paid your respects in so many ways to a remarkable person.
When the monarch emphasized that she was speaking not just as a queen, but as a grandmother, people here softened considerably, and they were open to her appeal to close ranks as a nation, meaning perhaps to put aside the bitterness and recriminations the royal family has faced throughout the week.
It is a chance to show to the whole world the British nation united in grief and respect. May those who died rest in peace, and may we, each and every one of us, thank God for someone who made many, many people happy.
The things she said, and the tribute to Diana, an exceptional and gifted human being, she said.
I think she said the right thing and what we've all been wanting. I think the general opinion has been that they didn't care, and we felt that she did, but she just didn't come out and say it. And I think tonight what she has said will make people feel a lot better in their hearts, and I think they do care, but it's the way they show it.
Up to now, I don't think the royal family has shown any emotion at all. She did. But I think that will bring the royal family back into the country.
That was good, but we felt it was better late than never. We thought she wasn't going to come out, and if she hadn't done, I think there would have been a very, very strong reaction against not just the Queen, but Prince Charles as well.
I think the people were crying out for an early response, but I think what the people needed to understand was that the Queen herself is grieving. And she's got a family to look after. With the two boys as well, she's got to comfort those.
He worked to a certain extent tonight, but I would have liked another 5 or 6 minutes
and I would have liked it to have been on Tuesday or Wednesday, to be quite honest with you.
I think they mean to do well, but the outpouring of grief and the emotions that we've seen since we've been here, to me, has been absolutely incredible. And the royal family must have realised that. And they should have come out a lot earlier. They have now. I still agree, it's too late.
We asked the diplomatic editor of the London Times, Michael Binion, to join us in the pub.
She had to accomplish two important things. The first was to show that the royal family and she personally were as moved as the nation by the death of Diana. She also had to reassure the country that this was a matter of serious, real, political, personal and national significance, and that she was dignified and capable of leading the national mourning. And I think she did do it, yes. She did it short, succinct, crisp, and there was a certain note, a certain steely note in her voice when she broadcast live, which is unusual. It probably gave a certain edge to her words, but it was quite clear from the moment that she began speaking that she was absolutely determined to re-establish her position, her authority, and her sense of national leadership.
What changed in Britain this week?
I think two or three things. First of all, we have shown that the British are not the kind of people who pride themselves on restraining their emotions anymore. The typical image of a Briton abroad, and particularly in continental Europe, has been of a person who has few emotions or somebody who masters whatever emotions he or she has. That is the older generation. The Britain of the post-Beatles generation is a Britain that believes it wants to be more like Latins rather than Anglo-Saxons. We would like to be spontaneous and more demonstrative of our feelings. That has now been sanctioned at highest level, as it were.
I wonder what keys to the future are you looking for in watching the funeral and the way it unfolds tomorrow?
Well, I think one thing will be whether this really is a sort of cathartic outpouring of national grief and whether that does assuage the mood. I think in a way it will, and it has to. And then there probably will be a sense that that somehow should draw a line under it, because however much this is genuine, there can't be this sort of almost mawkish indulgence in grief and mourning for more than a week. It just somehow goes on too long, and then there's a danger of revulsion and people feeling it's all too much.
Tonight, after the Queen's speech, as the hearse carrying Diana's body made its way through the streets of London, there was a noticeable change of mood in the crowd that filled the roadside. A sense of peace and quiet had descended.
While the consensus is that the Queen said what she had to say tonight to get the royal family out of immediate danger, it is also true that the House of Windsor cannot go home again to their palaces and reclaim everything they had before. Tonight, there is a sort of truce between the monarchy and the people of Great Britain. After tomorrow's funeral, the pressure on the royal family to radically change will likely grow again. For The National, I'm Terence McKenna outside Kensington Palace in London.
Please stay with us when we come back. Tonight's extended edition of The National will continue with an update from Peter Mansbridge in London. And later in the program, Diary of a Princess. This is a remarkable chronicle by Diana herself on her campaign to ban landmines.
I've never seen scenes like it before. I've never been in this environment.
Edition of The National. An incredible story is unfolding here tonight. The last few hours of the vigil. The last few hours before the funeral for Diana, Princess of Wales. The streets are filled with people waiting for the procession of the coffin from Kensington Palace along a 5.5-kilometer route to Westminster Abbey. Some people have been camped out for days, and by the time the procession begins, it's expected there will be millions of mourners waiting to pay their respects to the princess. Today, for the first time, the royal family joined London's masses in public mourning. The CBC's Don Murray takes us through a day that included a truly remarkable speech by the Queen.
It was 2 minutes to 6 in London, and the woman in the window of Buckingham Palace was preparing for a crucial moment in her reign. Everything about this speech was unusual. It was live. Behind the Queen, through the window, could be seen the crowd which had waited at Buckingham Palace all week, a crowd which had demanded such a gesture. The tone wasn't royal,
We have all
but
felt
personal,
those
and the
emotions
praise for
in
the
these
dead
last
princess
few days.
was fulsome.
So what I say to you now, as your queen and as a grandmother, I say from my heart. First, I want to pay tribute to Diana myself. She was an exceptional and gifted human being. In good times and bad, she never lost her capacity to smile and laugh, nor to inspire others with her warmth and kindness.
She quietly defended the royal family's 4 days of silence and seclusion behind the gates of the royal castle in Balmoral, Scotland.
This week at Balmoral, we have all been trying to help William and Harry come to terms with the devastating loss that they and the rest of us have suffered. So what I say to you now...
And she finished with a plea for an end to division and criticism.
I thought it was very appropriate and a real pro.
I thought it was excellent. I thought it was very moving. I felt she touched on all the things that everybody really wanted to hear.
I must say, I would have expected much more emotion for once, but no, sorry to say.
The Queen's speech, her answer to her subjects, came at the end of an unprecedented and very unsettling week for the royal family. It also capped the first day of what the palace has described as a very public ordeal for Diana's sons. It began in Scotland this morning when Prince William and Prince Harry, along with their father, Prince Charles, boarded a plane in Aberdeen to fly back to London. In the early afternoon, they came to Kensington Palace, where Diana had lived, and where an immense sea of flowers and a large crowd of people awaited them.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It was an emotional occasion, of hands reaching out, of flowers offered and tears shed. The young princess smiled and talked and took the gifts of flowers and added them carefully to the millions of others. It seemed a kind of catharsis. An hour later, the Queen and Prince Philip ripped up the royal rule book and for the first time in 50 years walked outside Buckingham Palace to do as their grandsons had done. In the evening, a hearse bearing the coffin of Diana left St. James's Palace to take her through the streets of London, through a silent, sad sea of people, to her home at Kensington Palace. In a car behind her rode her sons and their father. Tomorrow, her sons will again follow her through the streets to Westminster Abbey and her funeral. Don Murray, CBC News, London.
Well, one of the almost 2,000 guests invited to the funeral tomorrow is Canadian Sandra Horley. She's the director of the charity Refuge, a network of women's shelters here in Greater London. Diana took a very personal interest in Refuge, and earlier today I spoke with Sandra Horley about her relationship with the princess.
Well, you've known and worked with Diana for the past 5 years. What struck you most personally about her?
I was very struck by her warmth and her enthusiasm, her sense of fun and sense of humor. I can remember the first time I had lunch with her at Kensington Palace. I'd practiced my curtsy for 2 days, as you would. And when I arrived, you can imagine my surprise when she came bounding down the stairs and gave me a great big hug and welcomed me. And she was very effusive, very warm and generous. That's just the way she was.
We've heard so much this week about the different charities that she's been involved with and her commitment to them beyond just the use of her name. There really was a commitment.
Well, there's definitely a commitment. Her charity work was her life. She believed in so many different causes. And in terms of our organization, it was private work. She carried this work out in secret, away from the glare of the cameras. She was truly committed to her charity work and to helping Refuge and raising the issue of domestic violence. In fact, with Diana's help, we've managed to put domestic violence back on the map in Britain. She has raised awareness and heightened the issue. And, you know, the world has truly lost a champion for charities.
You'll be one of those in the Abbey tomorrow. What'll be going through your mind?
I feel a terrible sense of loss. I'm very sad, obviously. It's tragic. I mean, the world's most famous woman, most revered woman. She meant so much to so many people. She brought hope and inspiration to the abused women I help, and it's just terribly tragic. I can't imagine even sitting there tomorrow. It doesn't bear thinking about. Watching the children come down the aisle, the coffin. I mean, it's just hard to imagine. It's just very, very tragic, very sad.
Our other big story tonight is about Mother Theresa, the Roman Catholic nun who cared for the poorest of the poor, has died in Calcutta, India, of heart failure. Mother Teresa spent half a century looking after the dying and the destitute, caring for people most of the world wanted to forget. The CBC's Jeffrey Kaufman has this report on the woman known as the Saint of the Gutters.
The woman who dedicated her life to the forgotten was herself remembered tonight as people from across Calcutta gathered at the headquarters of the Missionaries of Charity to mourn the death of Mother Teresa. In the chapel, nuns from the order Mother Teresa founded touched her feet and said prayers. Mother Teresa had one single message in her life: the poor must know that we love them.
Very difficult to explain the suffering of the people. Nobody can understand actually what it is and why it is.
She was born to Albanian parents in 1910. By the time she was 12, she knew she wanted to be a nun. She dedicated her life to the destitute and dying in the slums of Calcutta, India's most crowded city. It was there that she founded her order, the Missionaries of Charity, in 1949.
That's a beautiful work. To give joy to somebody, to lift somebody, to give a home to somebody.
Mother Teresa worked in obscurity until 1969, when a documentary on her life and her work thrust her onto the world stage. In the media, she became a living saint. She used that renown to spread her message. When people needed comfort, she was there, rescuing handicapped orphans caught in the crossfire of the Lebanese Civil War, ministering to victims of the Bhopal chemical spill, and aiding survivors in the rubble of Armenia's earthquake. In 1979, on being awarded a Nobel Peace Prize, she is said to have responded, "I am not worthy." At the Montreal home of her Missionaries of Charity, news of Mother Teresa's death was met with sadness, but also celebration for her life.
I think that everybody agrees that she's a saint. She's a saint. She was showing the love of God to the whole world. Even those who are not Christian, they believe in her. They see her as a saint, no? They felt the love of God from her.
Although universally praised for her work with the poor, Mother Teresa was not beyond controversy for her conservative Catholic views. In several visits to Canada, she spoke forcefully about her opposition to abortion.
Abortion is a terrible evil. And if you do not want the child, I want it. Give it to me.
Despite heart attacks and failing health, Mother Teresa continued her work. Her order has spread to more than 100 countries. It feeds 500,000 families a year and treats 90,000 lepers. Mother Teresa's death comes less than a week after the death of the Princess of Wales. The two met 4 times, most recently in June. Earlier this week, she said what she and her friend Diana shared was a great love for the poor. Jeffrey Kaufman, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, that's it from London for tonight. I'll be back in just a few hours with live coverage of Diana's funeral. Now, back to Toronto and Hannah Gartner.
Peter, thank you. We're going to take a break now, but when we come back, as London prepares for Diana's funeral, we have a unique glimpse of the work she championed, a personal account by Diana of the campaign to ban landmines.
I thought Sandra was particularly courageous because we all descended on her. And I think it's very daunting for her to have a camera, let alone 30, 40 cameras on her.
And dedication the Princess of Wales brought to her work, and about her ability to focus world attention on people and issues forgotten by the mainstream. Tonight, an example of that commitment. In January, the Princess traveled to Angola to highlight the campaign to ban landmines. She recorded a personal chronicle of that journey. We broadcast that documentary earlier this season. Now, on the eve of Diana's funeral, here again is Diary of a Princess.
Last month, I flew to Angola
in southwest Africa. This was a working visit. I wanted to support the Red Cross by highlighting its campaign to ban anti-personnel landmines.
2,000 people every month are killed or maimed by mines around the world. That's one person every 20 minutes. It is my sincere hope that by working together in the next few days, we shall focus world attention on this vital, but until now largely neglected, issue.
On my way from the airport, I began to see the effects of 30 years of conflict on this country. I've never seen scenes like it before. I've never been in this environment, but you know, it's very humbling. I was taken to the headquarters of the Red Cross for a background briefing. Accompanied by Mike Whitlam, Director General of the British Red Cross, with local knowledge supplied by François de la Roche, the Angola head of delegation. We left Luanda to travel out to a Red Cross health post at Kikola. Driving through the outskirts of the city, we saw some of the thousands of displaced people, unable or too afraid to return home, because much of their country remains mined. Absolutely stuck.
Somebody in the press asked me if you were going to see a sanitized version. Ain't no way. You see what we see. That's not fair for you to see a sanitized version because it serves no purpose.
Exactly. At the Kikola health post, we were due to visit a well baby clinic. They were expecting us.
We've got plenty of time here.
Some of the health post patients have been injured by landmines. I met two women, both of whom had lost legs. Can lady tell me how long she's been coming here?
Since 1986. But my accident was in 1989.
Don't her friends help her?
I understand they don't help. They don't help, they can't help me.
Because they don't want to?
No, they don't have, they can't.
They just can't. Thank you very much for having me. I'm enormously impressed by what your staff do to support all these important people. Onwards, onwards, which way? We follow. I was introduced to a group of young soldiers. One told me he felt very inadequate because he couldn't provide for his family, and that upset him more than losing his leg. Will you ask her how she feels about this?
It's okay.
Will you say to her, I hope she doesn't mind us all seeing you here?
Non ti importa stare qui. It's very kind.
Okay. What range of stuff? What did we reckon that was how many countries the landmines around there? Was it 56?
71.
71. What's 70?
We can show you a list of those. What I have got for you, which I found in my papers this morning, which you may not have seen, is that
Paris's Ritz Hotel.
Police had difficulty freeing its victim from the wreckage.
This is BBC Television from London. A short while ago, Buckingham Palace confirmed the death of Diana, Princess of Wales. The princess died following a car accident in Paris. She was 36. A statement issued by the palace says the Queen...
This is not a time for recriminations, but for sadness. However, I would say that I always believed the press would kill her in the end.
It's the saddest moment for the people's princess. You know, I've been crying all day yesterday when it happened, and all night.
Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You are the grace that placed yourselves where lives were torn apart. You called out to our country, and you whispered to those in pain. Now you belong to heaven, and the stars spell out your name. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Loveliness we've lost, those empty days without your smile. This torch we'll always carry for our nation's golden child. Even though we try, the truth brings us to tears. All our words cannot express the joy you brought us through the years. And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. Your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You were the grace that placed yourselves where lives were torn apart. Goodbye, English road, from a country lost without your soul, who missed the wings of your compassion more than you will ever know. And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before legend ever will.
There's an advisory. We're warning hikers the weather's going to fluctuate severely in the next 12 hours. If you're out for the day, there's an advisory. We're warning hikers the weather's going to fluctuate severely in the next 12 hours. Have a nice day.
How come you didn't stop them?
Did you see what they were wearing?
Jackets?
Nope. That was the Wind River system from Mars. It'll adapt to anything. They know what they're doing.
Let's plan on meeting tomorrow morning. We still haven't gone over that settlement document, and Kevin wants us to finish that up before I meet.
You know what I was thinking?
What?
I was thinking it would be a good idea to come up with an alternate explanation.
Alternate explanation.
Yeah, of how the blood sample got switched.
I'm not tracking you.
Why do we have to say that I'm the one who switched the blood? Why can't it be that 1 in 100 chance that one of the employees at the lab screwed up?
Wait a minute, Phyllis. You can't go changing your story now.
I'm not talking about changing it. I'm just talking about, you know, tweaking it a little bit.
Phyllis, you testified in court under oath that you were the person who changed those blood samples. You can't go back on that now.
I know that, but you know, I'm not talking about
I don't even
changing
understand why you would be. It's all holding together. You and Danny moved to Genoa City after having the paternity test done in New York. A short time later, you were told by your friend Sasha that she falsified the test, which you were totally unaware of.
Yes, but by then, Danny really was the father of my child, at least in every way that counted.
So, to protect your family, you switched the blood samples in the second test. That is your case. That you stated under oath. Yes, you switched the blood samples, but you did it for protection, not deception. And if you recall, Christine pinned you to that exact story. So if you go changing it, she's gonna jump all over you. Not to mention you'll be accused of perjury, which is a crime in and of itself.
But Michael, we both know.
What I know is what you swore in that courtroom. Nothing more, and you have no reason to suspect otherwise.
Everyone is covering their bases. Even you.
It is not a matter of covering bases. It is a matter of getting full custody of your little boy. It is a matter of sticking to your story.
Can I no longer tell you everything that's on my mind? Is that it? I can tell you everything that's bothering me about things that I swore to in court. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that if you want custody of your son, you must stick to your story. Unless...
Unless what?
Unless there is evidence out there that casts doubt on your testimony at the hearing.
And if there is?
If there is, we better know about it now, because I can pretty much promise you that Christine is going to uncover it. So, Phyllis, is there something you want to tell me?
All right, turn your head just a little bit more to the right, Drusilla. No, not that far, not that far.
How about this? Is this better?
Actually, no.
Okay, well, what do you want now? But
Maybe I didn't make myself clear. What I'm looking for here is just lots of...
energy, spontaneity. Yeah, I heard you the first
Only
time.
you're not giving it to me, sweetheart. Look, I know this isn't some big-time fashion shoot out in Paris or Milan. It's just a routine catalog gig out here in little old Cleveland, but let's just try it again, all right? Stay with me, Drew. Come on, focus on what we're doing here. Remember, it's cold outside. It's winter. Let me see it. I'm losing you, Drew. Come on.
Take a break, Dex. I want to talk to Drusilla. Okay, Drew, talk to me. What's going on?
You know, Sid, I'm really not into this today.
Look, I knew something was up when you called and asked me to find you a job out of town. I realize you didn't want to get into it on the phone, but I'm asking you now. I'm concerned, Drew. It's not like you to put your personal life aside to do your job. Obviously, whatever's going on is really getting to you. Are there problems in your marriage, Drusilla?
Not yet, but there could be. That's what's got me so worried.
You want to talk about Grace?
Yeah, I do.
What about her?
Give me some hints. What do I do to turn this chick on?
You're asking me?
Yeah, why do you say it like that?
Well, I've been watching you guys. There seems to be a lot going on between you two.
Looks that way, huh?
Tony, what are you telling me?
I'm not telling you anything. I'm just after some advice.
Geez, I don't know, man. Things seem to be going in the right direction between you two. So whatever you're doing, just keep doing it.
Well, looks could be deceiving.
So does this mean that you and Grace aren't,
No, I'm not saying nothing's happening. So you're only with us when we go out. You're not with us when we go home.
Okay, and things aren't quite as intense.
Not even close. So what do I do? You know how crazy I am about her.
Maybe Grace doesn't want to move too far too fast.
Could be. No, but I have a hunch there's something else holding her back.
Good afternoon, I'm John Loveland.
And I'm Kristen Firth. Coming up tonight at 6 on Global News, North Dakota versus Southern Manitoba. How are the two areas coping with the flood of '97? The mayor of Grand Forks is in Winnipeg to outline a rebuilding process.
And we'll travel to Brandon to meet the new mayor of Manitoba's second largest city after yesterday's municipal by-election. These stories and much more coming your way tonight at 6 on Global News.
I do some of my best work in the summer, so be cool. Put a new box in the fridge. I'll keep summer food smelling fresh.
And I'll keep ice cream tasting great.
This summer, pick up a fresh box of Arm & Hammer baking soda for the fridge.
And one for the freezer.
The worst odors disappear into your carpet. You need the muscle of the baking soda in Arm & Hammer Carpet and Room Deodorizer. The fragrance and the freshness of the outdoors, indoors.
Introducing Perkins' new 5-star International Benedict. Honoring France with our Cordon Bleu Benedict. A bow to Her Majesty's England with our Beefeaters Benedict. And a salute to our southern neighbor with our Rio Grande Benedict. Perkins International Benedict. We make it special for you.
Anything behind those beautiful eyes that I should know about?
Wow is for the sales we have each week. Wow is for the best brand names that you seek. Wow is what you ask for, a great low price and so much more.
Dollar Days brings you Royale 8 roll bathroom tissue, just $2.25, and 8-liter original Tide for only $4.75.
Wow! Sellers, where the lowest price is the law.
The Manitoba Theatre for Young People invites you to enter the magical world of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. You may have read the book or even seen the movie, but now you can experience it live on stage. The Manitoba Theatre for Young People brings you The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe at the Gas Station Theatre, October 17th to 26th.
Now, Ryan, I'm aware that this is an extremely difficult time for you.
Of course it is. I'm scared to death for Nina.
I hope you've given the police more information than you've given us.
What? I have told the police everything I know. You really think I'd hold back information?
David, of course I don't. And I'm not here to attack you.
We're just trying to help you, buddy. We
All
don't
right,
mean to
look,
get...
I'm sorry. I apologize. I know you're both concerned, which I appreciate. Look, I know I look like the heavy here for walking out on my wife, but I only did that after doing everything I could to hold that marriage together. And you have to understand, Nina has been in a depression for a long, long time. And I've tried to help her. Only she never really came out of it. For months, she wasn't even sure she wanted to stay married to me. Which is when things started happening in my own life. I met someone else. Someone I'm now in love with.
So what about your feelings for Nina?
I'll always care about Nina. I mean, we shared a wonderful life together once. But...
You're no longer in love with her?
No. The marriage is over. But that doesn't mean I won't do everything in my power to find her. I'm confused. My son is a mess. He needs me more than ever right now, only he hates me for leaving. And even if she comes back, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I mean, I don't want to hurt him or her any more than they've already been hurt. And I sure as hell don't want to drag Trisha into the middle of all this. I just feel like I'm being pulled in a million different directions.
Hi, it's Megan. What are you doing right now? Yeah, can you come over? I think my sister could really use your company. Great. Okay, I'll see you soon.
Well, what brings my handsome husband by?
Just a little errand of mercy.
Oh, wow. That could mean a lot of things.
Okay. Time out, Tiger. Come on. It is the middle of the day, and we are in your stuffy little office, all right?
Darn.
You know, on second thoughts, I'm a team player if you are. We can get busy right now.
No. You're right. I do have an image to maintain.
I think I should have kept my mouth shut. Well, that's all right. We can always eat. I got my baby a spinach and goat cheese pita.
You must be a mind reader. How did you know?
Well, you told me your schedule was kind of hectic. I figured the only way I was going to get to see my beautiful wife was to bring her to lunch.
I am starved.
Good. So am I.
Have you spoken to your brother lately?
About what?
Drew's shoe.
Drew's shoe.
Doctor, you're needed in 314. Okay, honey, I'm sorry. I gotta take this, okay?
Yeah. Do you think? Listen, I'm gonna hang out because I want to hear about that thing with Drew, all right?
Okay.
I don't understand, Drusilla. I thought you and your husband were very happy.
We are. We're in love more than any two people could possibly be. It's just that we can't seem to see eye to eye on one issue, and that is having children. I'm just not ready to have another baby right now at this point in my career.
You told me before that Neil wants you to have another baby, but that you were making sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and that was all working just fine, but suddenly I feel like my house of cards is just gonna come tumbling down.
In what way?
Well, my husband became suspicious that we hadn't gotten pregnant yet, so what does he do? He goes and sees a fertility specialist. He gets himself checked out thinking that he's the problem, which of course he isn't. But once he gets the results, Sid, where do you think that spotlight's gonna be shining? Smack dab on me. And if he finds out, he's gonna realize that I haven't been honest with him. And if it's one thing that my man hates, it's dishonesty.
Have you tried talking to your husband? Telling him how you feel about more children right now?
Yes, of course, I used to try. But he just doesn't understand how much my career means to me. He can't relate to it, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because he's a man. I don't know.
So what are you telling me, Drusilla? Are you gonna have another baby?
I probably can't.
I'm Dag Sharman. Tonight on Global News, the mayor of Grand Forks is in Winnipeg. We'll tell you what she has to say, and we'll compare for you flood recovery in Grand Forks with flood recovery here in Manitoba.
Global News, tonight at 6.
When it comes to farm fresh ideas, Granny's knows best. From our family to your family. Granny's Manitoba-grown quality chicken and turkey.
Farm fresh taste and country goodness, Granny's.
And now, Style File with Stephanie Black. Brought to you by Leather Express. Furniture for life. Leather is all we do, and we do it best.
First established in 1858 in Paris, haute couture symbolizes the epitome of high-end fashion and high-end price. And today in Toronto, 10 special gowns from Chanel were on display for the media. It's often on the runways of Paris, Milan, or London that haute couture is sometimes seen by the public. But today in Toronto, a tradition of high-end fashion came to the city.
These are 10 gowns that have just been flown to Toronto directly from Paris because they were just shown at the Paris show in July, so they haven't been shown elsewhere. Secondly, these 10 gowns total over $500,000.
Sounds a little pricey for some dresses. In fact, one of the outfits was worth over $85,000. But if you have the money and you want one of a kind, the work that goes into each design is painstaking.
There's tulle and there's a lot of handiwork. All of this is handmade.
And at Chanel, the Haute Couture Studios serves as a think tank. And what is created there in terms of color and style often trickles down to what you see on the runways and in the media for the coming season. $85,000, just a little out of my price range, just a little. I'm Stephanie Black, and that's your Style File.
Style File has been brought to you by Leather Express. Furniture for life. Leather is all we do, and we do it best.
Phyllis, I'll ask you again. Is there any evidence out there that could cast doubt on your previous testimony? Because if there is, we run out.
Damn Christine Williams.
Christine.
The woman hates me, Michael. And she'll do anything possible to take my son away from me.
She can't do that without cause.
Didn't you hear what I just said? The woman hates me. Now, you know what little Miss Goody Two-Shoes can be like when she has a vendetta. You, of all people, should know that. Considering what she did to you, well, I'm not gonna let her do that to me.
Phyllis.
She's not gonna get away with this.
Phyllis! I don't know what you're thinking, but under no circumstances, none whatsoever, should you go to Christine. She won't talk to you, and ethically, she can't talk to you. And if you force her to talk to you, you will be hurting your own case. The best thing you can do is stay far away from her. Phyllis, do not fight me on this. You'll just dig a hole for yourself.
Well, somehow, I am gonna get these people off my back. You can count on that, Michael.
Sounds to me like you have a theory. What's keeping Grace from moving ahead in a relationship with you?
Yeah, I do.
So let's hear it.
I think there's one thing keeping Grace back.
Which is?
Look, Nick, this is a little weird. But the one thing that's keeping me from getting what I want is you.
Me? What?
Come on, Nick. Somehow there is a connection between you and Gracie. I see it, it's there. I don't know what it is, and maybe you're not even aware of it yourself. But whatever that connection is, I would like for you to disconnect it.
I honestly have no idea what you're talking about.
Maybe no one else could see it, but I do, Nick. Grace turns you on.
You're crazy.
Nick, don't be all uptight. I mean, Grace turns on every guy. Of course, you're married.
That's right. I am married. Happily married.
Yeah, I'm not questioning that. Still, you know, you can't help noticing a beautiful girl, right? The only difference between being married and single is that when you're married, you can look, but you can't touch. At least you're not supposed to.
Look, Tony, you have come to me for advice. Well, I don't have any for you. You seem to be making the right moves where Grace is concerned. Now, I don't... Come in.
I'm finished with this report. You said you wanted to go over it with me.
Hi, Grace.
Tony, what are you doing here?
Yeah, what is it, Lan? Listen, while I'm thinking about it, I need 3 copies of the Waterford contracts, including cover letter.
Look, it isn't Lynn. Your secretary must have stepped away from her desk.
What the hell do you want, Phyllis?
I have something important to tell you, Paul, something that you definitely need to hear before it's too late.
Some days, you have all the luck. You know, you could win $10,000 when you play instant bingo. Some days, you do have all the luck. Hey, you never know.
Recycling really picked up in Manitoba last year. More aluminum cans to become new cans. More newspapers and magazines for new paper products. More steel cans for new containers. More glass bottles to be reused in construction materials. More PET bottles to become carpet and clothing. All told, multi-material recycling in Manitoba picked up 72% last year. Keep doing your part, and together, we'll make sure that Manitoba's recycling keeps picking up.
No, please, go ahead, say it. I'm sure it's going to be fascinating.
Nice teeth and gums. You must be using Colgate. Hello? Ben. Joan, look.
Oh. Colgate Total?
Doesn't just fight cavities.
Colgate Total is the only toothpaste that protects teeth and gums between brushings with a long-lasting antibacterial shield.
Nice.
Thank you.
Colgate, the choice of today's dentists.
Think of this string as your life. If you have diabetes, serious fluctuations in your blood sugar levels will not only determine how you live, but how long you live. At Shoppers Drug Mart, a Health Watch pharmacist can show you how to use a blood glucose meter, which can help you manage your blood sugar levels and reduce the chances of your life being cut short by the complications of diabetes.
I can see you're a little surprised to find me here.
Very.
Well, I was in the neighborhood, and I just figured I'd stop by and have a little talk with Nick.
I feel like I'm interrupting something. Nicholas?
No, we're just having a little talk.
I suppose your ears were burning a little. Your name came up in the conversation.
Oh, you were talking about me.
Don't be nervous. It was all good. Wasn't it, Nick?
Oh, absolutely.
See, right here, Antonio Viscardi, your biggest fan club.
Is that right?
As if you didn't know.
Well, I suppose I should shove off. You two look like you have work to do. See you later, Nick. Grace?
Oh, come on, man. You're trying to win the lady's heart. I think you can do better than that.
I gotta say it, man. You give good advice.
Just remember what I said. Don't give up.
No way. See you later, sweetheart.
What in the world was that all about?
So, sis, how about a game of gin rummy?
Thanks, but I'll pass.
What, are you afraid I'll beat you?
I taught you how to play gin rummy, remember?
And now I'm better than you are.
I don't think so.
Well, there's only one way we can find out. I'll go get the cards.
Megan, wait. Look, I know what you're trying to do, and it's not necessary.
I'll get it. Alec. Wow, what a surprise. Come on in.
Are you sure it's okay? I wouldn't want to. Trish, hey, how's it going?
Hi, Alec.
Hope you ladies don't mind my stopping by like this.
Oh, no, not a bit. We're glad, aren't we?
Oh, gosh. I can't believe I did that.
What?
You and I had plans for earlier today, and I completely forgot. Did you come by before?
It's no big deal. Megan told me you were out. I figured I'd stop by later, so here I am. Look, if it's still not an okay time, I can take off.
No, no. Please, stay. It's really good to see you.
So, is there anything you want to talk about? Like Ryan?
Actually, I'm all talked out. And I bet if Megan had to hear the story one more time, she'd scream.
No, not scream, but I wouldn't mind changing topics.
Neither would I. Preferably to something more upbeat.
Well, something pretty funny happened at work yesterday.
Oh, tell us.
Okay, well, I was running the register when this sweet little old lady came up to me, right? Said she was looking for a particular CD.
Let me guess. Lawrence Welk's Greatest Hits.
Wrong. Try Oasis.
You're kidding. Well, she must have been buying it for her grandson, right?
No, for herself. Said she was a big fan, had all their CDs, and get this. When she left, you know what she was driving?
I'm afraid to ask.
Vintage 1956 motorcycle with sidecar, mint condition, purred like a dream.
You're pulling our leg.
No, that's the truth. Scout's honor.
Oh, okay. Now I know you're pulling our leg. You forgot? You told me before you were never a Boy Scout.
Darn, busted.
What, you made the whole thing up?
No way, just the part about the motorcycle.
So what was she really driving?
No, she wasn't driving anything. She had her skateboard parked outside. Talk about hell on wheels. She almost mowed a police officer down, peeling out of the parking lot on that thing.
Understand, Ryan, I'm sure that you do feel pulled in a million directions.
Yeah, well, I just hope we find Nina real soon and that she's all right.
Well, it just occurs to me that perhaps it would be a very good idea if you took some time off.
I can cover for you. Oh, no. I'd go nuts without my work. I have to stay
Take
busy.
the rest of the day off, all right? Go home, rest a little, and most importantly, spend some time with your boy. He needs you.
Thank you. Both of you, thanks.
Your pension contributions could be doubled soon. The story tonight on Global News.
Hi, I'm Lynette Jennings. You know, nothing changes your room more than new carpet. But whether it's a good change or not could depend on where you get it, which is why so many people trust the Home Depot. They've got hundreds of styles, from Berbers to Saxonies, plushes, all by the best brands. And you know what? It's completely guaranteed, their price and their installation. So, look at your floor. When you think you're ready to make a change, make it easy.
The Home Depot, where great carpet is just the beginning.
Now you don't have to clean your dishes twice. Introducing new Electrosol automatic dishwasher tabs. It's a perfectly measured 2-layered tablet that dissolves completely. The blue layer breaks up stuck-on foods. The white layer gently scrubs your dishes till they shine, giving you dishes that look like this the first time. New Electrosol tabs, the next dimension of clean.
It's harder than having a thinner mother. It's harder than being called the Duchess of Pork. It's certainly harder than keeping a stiff upper lip, you know. It's the hardest thing in the world, staying on a diet.
Introducing 1-2-3 Success.
It's a real diet breakthrough. From Weight Watchers.
No complicated counting.
I like that.
And no food's a no-no.
It makes the hardest thing in the world a lot easier. 1-2-3. It's working for me.
1-2-3 Success. New from Weight Watchers.
Thursdays this fall, a new season of Traders.
You like the way I smell, right?
Jack's back.
There's a hierarchy in this business.
Oh, then I would like to move up a level.
Traders, Global's got it Thursday, October 9th, brought to you by the Cooperators, a better place for you. News, it affects everyone. When news affects you, choose your local news source, Global News, for up-to-the-minute and accurate information. Tonight, switch on Global News live from Winnipeg, weeknights at 6 and 10:30. When news happens, we'll be there.
Does your attorney know you're here?
My lawyer doesn't run my life, Paul.
Well, somebody ought to, Phyllis, because you're just not thinking straight.
Well, do you think that I'm enjoying this? I'm not. Coming here like this to talk to you, knowing how you feel about me, I should get my head examined. But the truth is, I had to come because I don't think that you are fully aware of what's been going on here, and you should be.
Fully aware about what?
The custody case.
I'm not going to discuss that.
It's not the case I want to discuss. It's Danny and Christine.
And what about them, Phyllis?
What about them? You really need to ask? Paul, you have to get your wife off that case. She should not be representing her ex-husband.
Now, why would you say that?
You know exactly what I'm talking about. In fact, I'll bet that you've already asked Christine to drop this case.
Is this some sort of strategy on the part of your legal team? Baldwin sent you over here, didn't he?
If Michael knew I was here, he'd go nuts. No, I'm here for your sake, Paul, as well as mine. And you know what I'm talking about, too.
Lucy, that's where you're wrong. I don't have a clue.
All right. You want me to spell it out for you? I will. Your wife is falling in love with Danny all over again, and he's falling in love with her, too. I realize you don't want to accept this, but you're going to have to face reality. Look at all the long hours that these two are putting together in this case. I mean, they are spending hour after hour together, which is bringing them closer and closer together. Old passions are being rekindled. Old passions that could erupt at any moment and destroy your marriage. Now, if I were you, I would put a stop to all of this now, today.
You and me were meant to be together, Grace. But you are going to realize. Go away, nobody's home.
Tony, it's me, Sharon.
Be right there. Hey there.
So, somebody is home.
Yeah, this door-to-door salesman's been bugging me all week.
Oh, and you thought I was...
Yeah, come on in before he sees you and he sells you some cookware.
No, it's no problem. I'll fax it to you. Yeah. All right, take care. I'm sorry, where were we?
I asked you a question. Nick, come on, spill it. What was Tony doing here?
We were just talking.
Like, I'm gonna believe that. What's going on?
Grace, it's no big deal, okay?
No, it's not okay. Especially not when I know it's got something to do with me.
Look, I really don't want to get into this.
Why? What did you tell him?
I didn't tell him anything. I didn't. He did most of the talking.
About what? I don't like this idea that you and Tony have some secret. Particularly when it has to do with me.
What if I told you you were wrong?
That there's a secret or that it has to do with me?
Either. Both.
I wouldn't believe you. I'd still say you were trying to cover something up.
Grace, there is no secret.
Okay. So, why didn't you tell me what you were talking about?
You really want to know? Fine. It didn't come as a surprise to me, and it sure shouldn't surprise you. But the guy is crazy about you. And he wants something to happen with you in the worst kind of way. And he just can't understand why nothing is happening.
Did he say nothing's happening? Because that's not exactly true. A lot's been happening.
Well, that's what I thought, but he wants more.
Surprise, surprise. Look, Nick, I know he wants more, but I don't want to get in over my head.
Okay, that's fair.
What exactly did Tony tell you?
Just that you guys have known each other for years, and that you watch a kid together, and that he's madly in love with you. But from what he says, Grace, you don't seem as interested when you're alone as when you are when we're all together. So what's going on? What's the problem? What's holding you back?
$250,000 in coats are shipped to North Korea. The story tonight on Global News.
Who do you shower with?
Someone I trust.
Who do you let close to your skin?
Someone I've known for years.
Introducing Carey Moisturizing Body Wash, a gentle cleanser with 10 moisturizing skin conditioners to do more than just clean. It soothes, moisturizes, and protects against dry skin. New Carey Moisturizing Body Wash. Shower with a friend.
Contemporary to transitional kitchen settings. At Cosman's, you'll find the best all-round selection of kitchen, vanity, and bar stools. Featured here in the Kitchen Craft showroom is one great example of how we can help you put the finishing touch to your kitchen or bar. When great style and comfort count, rely on Cosman's for the best in quality and selection. Vanity, kitchen, or bar stools, find exactly what you're looking for at Cosman's.
Thursday through Sunday at Future Shop, virtually everything is on sale. We're putting sale tags all over. TVs, computers, stereo systems, appliances, and music CDs. Virtually everything in every department is on sale. So hurry into Future Shop, because after Sunday, all those sale tags have to come off.
Well, summer is officially over. But hey, that means you'll need a whole new wardrobe for fall. And that means Winners. Winners is the best. Brand name fashions for men and women and your home. Delightful kids' clothes. Every week, thousands of new things for fall. And the prices, well, you just won't believe the savings.
Winners, brand name labels without brand name prices.
Now, autumn is 13 weeks long. That's 13 new reasons to go to Winners. Ooh, I'm gonna like autumn.
For the best of sports, watch Sportsline, weeknights at 11.
And now the best of sports just got even better.
Chris Walby is back on Sportsline this year with his unabashed comments on the CFL and me.
You like hits? We've got them. Every show I'll pick the Vernos Auto Body Cruncher. See you on Sportsline.
Chris, maybe those guys at Vernos could patch up your body.
Would I have to pay the deductible?
Honey, I'm so sorry I had to run out like that.
Don't you even worry about it. Come here. I wrapped your sandwich back up for you.
Oh, good. I'll eat it later.
Okay. Okay, baby girl, talk to me. What's this about Drew and some shoe?
You didn't know about it?
No, which is kind of odd because Sid Garber usually calls me and asks me if I want to go too.
And he didn't call you on this?
No.
I was at Drew's apartment and her agent called. Said there was this job last minute. And she jumped at it. It wasn't even glamorous.
What was it?
It's a catalog shoot in Cleveland.
Catalog? Baby, Drew does not do catalog work in Cleveland. What's your theory? What?
Theory?
Yeah, why did Drew just jump up and take a job like that?
I don't know. That's what's been on my mind. You know, I have a feeling that something's been bothering Drew. That she wanted to get out of town to sort things out.
Well, I hope she comes back with a clear head.
So do I, Malcolm. So do I.
Okay, baby, you're worried about Neil and Drew again, aren't you?
I know it is my sister's life.
Yeah, that's my brother's life, too.
And they're gonna have to work things out, right? On their own.
Baby, those two are gonna be fine, okay? They love each other more than anybody I know. Well, except for you and me. Come here, you.
Did I hear you right? You probably can't have another baby?
Yeah, Sid, that's one of the things that's gonna unravel. I have a condition. It's a medical condition. I've had it for years. The doctor said it was a miracle that I even had Lily.
Your husband doesn't know.
No, I didn't tell him. Now he's seeing a fertility specialist. I'm so scared.
And Neil thinks you're trying very hard for a baby.
Oh, you see my problem.
Actually, isn't it possible this could be your answer? Once your husband knows you have this problem, he's going to understand, isn't he?
Oh, Sid, he'll be so disappointed.
It's the way things are. You can't help it. It's not your fault.
No, I've known for years. I've known for years.
Does he have to know that?
I see your point. It's a very good point, Sid. Thank you. I feel a lot better about this now. Thank you for listening.
What are agents for? You ready to try this shoot again?
Yeah. One problem. No photographer.
I can remedy that. Send Dex back in, will you?
Oh, great. TV spokesperson, my long-distance savings plan. There are just so many restrictions. Can you show me the way?
Get the most savings plan from Sprint Canada.
Call any day, anytime to anywhere in Canada for just 15 cents a minute.
No more waiting for nighttime or weekends? No minimums? Free at last!
Well, almost. Huh? It's still 15 cents a minute.
Oh, right.
Next!
Get the most for the least from Sprint Canada. Call 1-800-THE-MOST today.
Q94 FM, Winnipeg's music source for the workforce.
It's all in a day's work. I love my job. More fanning, Tom.
Carpet Depot. Warehouse direct to public. Dare to compare our prices. Carpet Depot has one of Manitoba's largest selections of residential and commercial carpeting, sheet vinyl, tiles, and remnants. All inventory is on display. Ask about our 6 months, no payment, no interest OAC. Carpet Depot, 870 Century, the big store with the little prices.
If you want a meal and a deal, but you don't want burgers and fries, try Subway's value meals and get a different choice. Choose from 8 great-tasting sandwiches, all made on fresh baked bread. They come with chips and a 21-ounce drink and start at just $3.49. Take the Subway Challenge. Take one bite, and if you don't like our subs, you get your money back. It's the Subway Challenge at a Subway near you.
Take the Simpsons home with your next Subway Kids Pack. That's right. Our delicious sandwich, drink, and cookie now come with your favorite Simpsons pals.
Saturday.
His shot was incredible.
Moving, drives. The greatest hockey player who ever lived, Bobby Orr.
Keenan cleared it, but not out. Bobby Orr behind the net to Sanderson. Orr! Bobby Orr!
You will see how the young kid from Parry Sound, Ontario, became a hockey legend.
The best of Bobby Orr. Global's got it Saturday at 7.
Sharon, a nice surprise. Cassie's gonna be so sorry she missed you.
Right. She won't be home from school for another hour or so.
I'll tell you said hello, though.
Do that. And give her this for me, please. Last
Oh.
time she was at the ranch, she was asking for a picture of Noah.
Sharon, this is nice of you. Peanut is going to love it.
Well, she's a very special little girl.
Yeah, more than you know.
So, how are things with you and Grace?
It's interesting you should ask.
Oh?
I was just calling you when you knocked.
You were trying to reach me?
Now, look, I think I'm making some headway with Grace, but I want to keep the momentum going, so I thought, what better way to do it than going on another double date with you guys? Seeing as the last couple of evenings we spent with you and your hubby, Grace started to relax with me.
That's a great idea, Tony. And Nick and I had just as much fun as you two did. I think you're right. I've never seen you two so close.
But I want to be even closer. I think Grace is a little more comfortable going out with you guys. Makes things less intense.
I understand. As soon as Nick gets home, I'm gonna talk to him. But I'm pretty sure you can count us in.
Sharon, this means a lot to me.
Well, I happen to think that you're the best guy for my best friend.
Trying my darndest to convince Grace of that.
It'll happen. Just don't give up.
Not a chance. All right, look, I'll call you later and we'll make a plan, okay?
Right. Grace is a very lucky lady, having a guy who's as head over heels in love with her as you are. See you later, Tony.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Nothing's holding me back. Tony's a terrific guy, and you've seen how great we've been getting along.
Then what's the problem?
Well, there's no problem. I just don't want to rush into anything.
Grace, you can hardly call it rushing at this point.
What I mean is, Tony is very important to me, and he's been a wonderful friend. I mean, maybe it could be more, but I don't want to just jump into a relationship and then discover it's not what I wanted. I'd hate to do that to him or to me.
But you are interested in Tony. Sure, I've been acting that way.
You've noticed?
It's hard not to. You guys seemed very close the other night when we all went out dancing. So, what's your plan, Grace?
I don't exactly have a plan. I just kind of thought I'd let things happen.
Let nature take its course.
Exactly. Now, I hate to bore you with business, but I did have some questions on this report. So unless you were going to do more prying into my social life.
No, it's quite all right. Let's get to work.
I suppose it's understandable. Christine's being vulnerable to her former husband. He was, after all, her first love. In fact, I suspect that she has never completely gotten over him. I know for a fact that he's not completely gotten over her. Plus, you know, this being such an emotional time for Danny, it's not hard to see how one thing could lead to another. Look, Paul, I realize that this isn't easy to hear, but still, I wanted to come over here and tell you everything that's really been going on. Especially considering how straightforward you've always been with me.
Oh, thanks. Give me a break, will you?
Neither one of us wants to see Christine and Danny get back together. God knows Danny won't listen to me, but you can talk to Christine.
You actually believe you can make me feel insecure about my wife? Chris and I have never been closer.
I don't think that's true.
Look, Phyllis, I know why you're here. You're trying to get me to stop Chris from working on Danny's case because you are scared to death of her. You lied on the stand, and you know that she will not stop until she proves that.
You don't want to listen to me because you don't want to believe everything that's been happening directly under your nose. Your wife
I have
is
heard
falling
enough. Now, I want you to leave. I want you to leave now.
Have it your way. But don't say I didn't warn you.
Closed captioning of The Young and the Restless is brought to you by Whirlpool, making your world a little easier.
eat your heart out. Sexy comes in many shapes and sizes. The new comedy, The Full Monty, is about to unveil new talent. The movie is about a group of unemployed steelworkers gone striptease, and they'll have you rolling in the aisle screaming for more. We'll take a peek at the flick coming up on Nightlife, and for your amusement, we have more news on the laugh track. A new season of Seinfeld kicks off tonight at 7. Coming up, we'll bring you a preview. Stay tuned for Nightlife. Global News is next.
Tonight on Global News, the mayor of Grand Forks promises to rise from the ashes.
And your paycheck is shrinking. Huge increases in Canada Pension Plan contributions.
This is Global News, live from Winnipeg, with John Loveland, Kristen Firth, Curtis Moore, Lisa Best, and Joe Pascucci.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us.
The golden years are going to cost you more gold, a lot more.
Your paycheck could soon shrink by up to $700 a year. Compliments of the Canada Pension Plan. Legislation introduced in the Commons today will overhaul the plan and keep it alive, but employees and employers will both have to pay a lot more under the legislation. And as John Burke reports, the Chrétien government is also looking at changes to the old age security system.
Baby boomers preparing for their senior years must now pay much more to Ottawa. The Canada Pension Plan would go broke under the current premiums. So beginning in the new year, rates will rise dramatically. Contributions are currently at a maximum $945 a year. In another 6 years' time, that amount will nearly double to $1,635. Finance Minister Paul Martin defends the pension overhaul.
We have put in place, along with the provinces, one of the most modern and one of the most progressive retirement systems in the world, Mr. Speaker, and Canadians are very proud of it.
But saving the Canada Pension Plan may be at the expense of creating new jobs. Business thinks the higher premiums will be a job killer, the kind of payroll tax they have been fighting for years. The Chamber of Commerce also argues benefits should not be paid out until the age of 70.
It saves a lot of money, and it also would be consistent with the trends that we expect to unfold in the future, where workers will want to work longer.
The Finance Minister and the provinces held a series of meetings leading to the pension reform package. In the end, the NDP governments of Saskatchewan and BC did not sign on.
The New Democratic Party, provincially and federally, are very concerned about the fact that the most vulnerable are going to be hit hardest by the changes in CPP.
The Reform Party continues to push its personal, not national pension scheme.
There are better ways to fix the pension plan, other ways that we've suggested ourselves, but the government is only moving in directions that won't work.
Another change in the Canada Pension Plan is investing the billions of dollars in the marketplace. 20% will be placed in foreign markets.
With the new mandate, the Chrétien government is quickly rewriting the retirement rules for Canadians. First, the pension plan, and within days, a new seniors benefit package. In both cases, middle and upper income Canadians will receive little or nothing at all. John Burke, Global News, Ottawa.
A tale of two regions tonight from the mayor of Grand Forks, North Dakota. Mayor Pat Owens was in Winnipeg today to share North Dakota's experience with the flood of '97. In Grand Forks, as in southern Manitoba, hundreds of families will be forced to spend the winter away from home. And there's also disputes about compensation. But as Global's Dag Sharman reports, the Grand Forks mayor is confident both regions will recover from the disaster.
It's called the worst disaster per capita in American history. It wasn't just the flooding. In Grand Forks, fire destroyed 11 downtown businesses. More than 1,000 homes are now write-offs. And then when the water flowed north, it left at least 115 Manitoba homes as write-offs. Today on video and later with a speech, Grand Forks Mayor Pat Owens shared her story with Winnipeggers.
April 18th was the day we'll never forget in our city.
It was early that morning that the engineers told her the dikes couldn't hold.
I remember too very well, and they take me in the back and say, and sit with their face in their hands and cry because their dikes were failing and they felt like they were not, pulling their load in the city, that they had failed.
Since that time of togetherness, as in Manitoba, there has been division during recovery.
They think it's taking long, and of course, if you're on that end waiting for a buyout, it does seem long.
Unlike in Manitoba, businesses aren't directly compensated in Grand Forks, and for homes, there is no compensation for flooded basement, and there is no compensation for lost contents of your home. a comparison Manitoba's much criticized politicians enjoy.
All you have to do is compare how far along the way we are in the process of reestablishing ourselves in Manitoba versus Grand Forks, and you know, we're miles ahead.
And Winnipeg consultants are helping Grand Forks recover from the record disaster.
A permanent dike system, and also to study a partial diversion, and that's what they're in the process of doing right now.
Grand Forks will beef up its permanent diking system by next spring, but like Manitobans, they know there is only so much they can do. As Mayor Pat Owens says, there comes a time when all you can really do is hope. Dag Sharman, Global News, Winnipeg.
Another big seizure for the RCMP last night. It wasn't drugs or cigarettes. It was a truckload of contraband telecommunications equipment bound for Winnipeg. RCMP members stopped this truck full of direct-to-home satellite dishes and receivers as it crossed into the province from the United States. The Winnipeg businessman trying to import the illegal technology taunted police as they confiscated the goods. At one point, officers clearly became impatient with the man. The technology is not approved for sale in Canada, and the dishes were bound for Winnipeg. The receivers are capable of pulling down American satellite channels, currently not available on legal satellite systems. Well, just last week, the Mounties announced a crackdown, saying the U.S. dishes cheat consumers who pay for the legal services. But the business owners say he imported the $14,000 worth of contraband goods.
Sale, use, distribution of this equipment is not illegal under the Radio Communications Act, as has been decided by courts in Manitoba, New Brunswick, Saskatchewan, British Columbia. And it's quite clear the message from the courts is that since there is no lawful distributor, there cannot be an offense by decoding this programming.
RCMP telecommunications experts are currently examining the equipment to see if it's illegal. Police can proceed with charges under the Radio Communications Act if the satellite systems are against the law.
Live from Winnipeg, this is Global News.
Residents in Manitoba's second largest city have a new mayor tonight.
Voters in Brandon went to the polls yesterday in a municipal by-election to choose a new mayor to replace Rick Borodzik, who left for Parliament Hill after this summer's federal election. It was a close race, but Reg Atkinson, a newcomer to Brandon politics, won the nod. Global's Warren Preece is in Brandon tonight.
If we made the school appointment first thing, and then we could go ahead with our interviews the rest of the day if you like.
Yeah. Reg Atkinson is getting right down to business, and making Brandon business-friendly is at the top of his agenda.
And when I was campaigning, I asked people what the new mayor should do first. That was my question to most people. And most of them said, bring industry to the city, bring jobs to the city. And that's what they want, that's what I'm going to do.
This is music to the ears of the Chamber of Commerce. Brandon recently finished first in a survey of business climates in Western Canada. One big reason is the absence of a business tax. The business community wants the mayor-elect to build on that.
The economic development comes from a good, solid city, good city services, positive community profile. And I think those are some of the things that the mayor has to work on.
People we talked to downtown appeared ready to give Reg Atkinson a chance to show what he can do.
Hopefully it'll be a shot in the downtown area for us. I knew that was one of the things that he was looking at.
I think that he'll be all right.
There was a lot of good candidates, so we were pretty lucky with whoever we got.
Atkinson bucked a trend by not promising a residential tax freeze in his campaign. He says paying for a sewer system upgrade could mean an increase of up to 5% over the next 2 years. He's hoping to grow out of the problem by attracting more companies like the Israeli firm that wants to revive a meat-packing operation at the old Burns plant.
The plan is to get more taxpayers, and then the individual taxes don't go up.
Brandon civic employees have traditionally enjoyed a good relationship with their employer. The largest city workers union buys into their new boss's vision of growth.
We'd like to see economic development, good high-paying jobs, benefits the community as a whole, and we'd like to see the city expand.
Reg Atkinson only has a year to make things happen. He faces re-election in October '98. The mayor-elect will be sworn in next Wednesday at a special ceremony here at City Hall. Then he can begin building up support from yesterday's narrow victory. John?
Warren, Brandon is still riding the momentum from the hugely successful Canada Games, and that momentum's going to continue right on through the winter, isn't it?
Yes, it is, John. In November, the World Curling Trials will be held here in Brandon, and they're really looking forward to that high-profile event. The new mayor wants to keep attracting profile events like that and keep getting national attention and attracting businesses to Brandon.
All right, thanks, Warren. Global's Warren Preece in Brandon tonight.
New rules for the British press in the wake of the Princess Diana car crash.
A very moving scene, of course, and the BBC's Alison Holt has the latest on the streets of London.
Burning through the cold darkness of the night, hundreds of candles provide a focus for the mourners waiting outside Kensington Palace, waiting for the hour when the body of Diana, Princess of Wales, will leave her home for the last time. 2 priests have watched over the coffin throughout the night. The sea of flowers has continued to grow. And for the people gathered here, there's been little sleep. Instead, there's been time to reflect on the impact of the princess's death.
There's just like a stillness. It's so silent, and it makes you feel really strange. I've never felt like this. I never thought it would affect me in such a way.
It's really amazing how you just look around and you see people of different races and different ages, different colours.
It's like trying to bridge this gap between everyone.
It's absolutely unbelievable what's shown by the people, and our hearts go out to the boys, and we hope someone puts their arms around them like their mum did.
On the roads leading to Westminster Abbey, people have been camping on the pavements to ensure their place along the route which the funeral procession will take. They've been warned to bring plenty of food, drink and warm clothing to see them through a long day. But most believe the discomfort is worth it.
It's very sad, very, very sad, and I'm just glad I came. I'd rather be here than anywhere else at the moment. This is the place I'd much rather be.
Others have found equally unusual places to spend the night. These people are making the most of the free accommodation offered on a train which is going nowhere. This particular train was named by Diana, Princess of Wales, in 1988. It's called the Red Cross after one of her favourite charities. And staff here at Paddington Station felt rather than it sitting empty in a depot, it should be turned into a temporary hotel. The capital's stations will be key pressure points during the day. They are already busy with people arriving for the funeral, and the police estimate up to 6 million people will flood into London. The railway companies admit the scale of the demand has taken them by surprise.
We're astonished at the numbers because we know that our special trains were completely sold out. One train that frankly didn't actually exist 48 hours ago, we just put it into the timetable, is completely sold out. We've laid on extra trains, we've rearranged our timetable so the trains get into Paddington much earlier.
At the moment, many are still making their way to London. This special train left Plymouth in the early hours, picking up passengers en route. They're people who are determined to make the journey so they can pay their respects to the people's princess.
And joining us now from our London bureau is the CBC's Nancy Durham. And Nancy, tell me about the morning papers. This is a difficult day, I would think, for the media to treat it because it's going to be such a trying time for so many people.
But there is one story, and there are so many pictures of this beautiful lady that this is what all the papers are doing. Here's the Daily Mail, one of the tabloids, recent photograph of Diana on her trip to Bosnia for mine awareness. And the backs of each of the tabloid papers pay tribute to her. And another photograph, here's an earlier one when she was a fairly new bride, I believe. The Times of London, lovely photograph from that moving, beautiful scene yesterday when the 2 boys, William and Harry, and their father, Prince Charles, went to pay tribute and to greet the mourners outside Kensington Palace. So it's a picture day, and those are the 2 newspapers I have my hands on at the moment. The shops are closed here out of respect for the princess. In fact, many stores are closed all day, and certainly most stores closed up until about 2 o'clock this afternoon.
I would think that in the days ahead there will be some sort of assessment of the Queen's speech that was made on Friday, an unprecedented speech because it was given live. Based on the people that you've talked to in the past 24 hours, have you got the sense that at least in the short term some of that public consternation has dissipated? There had been some speculation that perhaps the Queen, Prince Charles, Prince Philip might be booed as they make their way to Westminster Abbey. There's no expectation that would happen now?
Certainly not, certainly not. But I would say that I think we don't want to exaggerate the importance of her speech or the success this brings for the monarchy. There's a breathing space here. This is definitely still some sort of turning point, I think, in the monarchy and its future, and there are many uncertainties. The Queen did a good job yesterday. I think there's quite a bit of sympathy today for Prince Charles, and definitely a feeling of pulling together, but I think we could exaggerate the success of that speech yesterday.
Right. We'll leave it at that for now. Nancy Durham, thanks for being with us again.
And the live crowds growing outside Buckingham Palace as we watch from London. Live pictures, the crowd filling the street, filling the square in front of Buckingham Palace, up the Mall. And the funeral procession will be moving along there during the day. And those people, many of them, as we say, have been in place for days now, at least 3 days. Some of them arriving as early as Wednesday, Tuesday. And interestingly enough, no body lying in state, and yet people crowding Buckingham Palace, leaving flowers there, and nobody in Buckingham Palace, the Queen being in Scotland with the rest of the royal family at Balmoral, and yet the people turning out and the crowds growing, the flowers being placed by the gates and the fence in Buckingham Palace, growing every day. As we look at live pictures from London at about 40 minutes past 7. Well, the world is mourning Diana partly because of all that she did, and partly because of what she never got to do, dying so young as she did at the age of 36. It was a life that was full of special moments, moments that became part of modern history. Jim Fish of the BBC prepared this look back at the life of the Princess of Wales.
Diana was the first royal to try to combine a normal family life with the extraordinary demands of the monarchy. Soon the strains began to show. Her own illness, bulimia, the breakdown of her marriage, and then divorce. Throughout, she tried to balance the demands of her public role with her private life. The media's focus was unrelenting, unbearable at times, but she managed to turn the public's fascination into sympathy.
She could never live up to the expectations the royal family and the public had of her. Well, many women identify with that. I think she was very frank about her own personal emotions and her experiences. Now, when she was, many other people thought this was horrific. I mean, I watched the Panorama program and was quite shocked. Many women I know cheered her on.
But it was in private that that gift really shone through.
She would be there, and you would see her sitting around, and children would be playing and doing, achieving little things, and they would run up and tell her like she was their mum. They identified with her too. I think it was quite an extraordinary quality she had.
This huge outpouring of grief by a nation famous for its reserve has astonished the country. This is not only the people grieving for their princess, but a sign that Britain itself may be changing. At the end of the 20th century, the old certainties of empire have given way to new doubts. A country ill at ease with itself. Diana seemed to sense that mood.
I think the British people need someone in public life to give affection, to make them feel important, to support them, to give them light in their dark tunnels.
She was also a projection of Britain's image abroad.
She was symbolic of Britain more than any government or politician or even famous person in Britain. She symbolized Britain. And internationally, she was just associated. You think of Britain, you think of Princess Diana.
She didn't have to perform in the synthetic world of entertainment. She simply was. Merely by going around the world, going around Britain, going around the world, she merely had to be. And I think for that reason, nobody ever really had to peer behind very much. I think she was more of an icon, more of an emblem, more of a symbol than she really was a person to the minds of most people in the world. But for that very reason, she was very powerful.
Within the church, the sense of loss is felt acutely by the man who organized the royal wedding 16 years ago.
I think it's very important for this country to realize what we've lost, because for once we had a world figure. There's no one else no other woman in this country who really approached her power.
And though people were sad about some sides of her life, she had enormous achievements.
Rarely has the death of a national figure aroused such widespread anguish, even if only in retrospect. This very open sharing of grief is just one of the taboos she helped break down. The woman who was perhaps not loved enough in her private life was loved too much in public. The princess, like a comet, lit up the lives of many around the world and leaves a trail whose brightness will linger on long after her passing.
And with us here again, George Pearce, Major George Pearce, retired from the Canadian Armed Forces. And George, just listening to Jim Fisk's report from the BBC, talking about how things perhaps have changed forever in Britain, the protocol breaking down to some degree already before the funeral, and we're going to see that as the funeral unfolds, apparently. Is this sort of a seminal event in British life and in British tradition, the way the protocol is probably changing?
I wouldn't think so, Don. I would think that this is, as has been said many times, a unique occasion, a unique funeral for a unique person. I don't think we're going to see this kind of thing, this kind of situation in the royal family again, and I don't think that there will be any, it's an unprecedented thing, and I don't think that it's going to mean an overall change because of the differences that are going to be obviously made today.
But when you see the royal family yesterday having to do their walkabout, they had not originally planned to come down from Balmoral until this morning for the funeral service. Once you've done that, it's hard to go back to the more austere and removed situation that they were maintaining until yesterday.
Well, I think the family was sequestered at Balmoral, obviously, in deference to Prince William and Prince Harry. They were, I think the Queen, rightfully as grandmother, was trying to prepare them for the ordeal of this day and trying to comfort them and, as she said, bring them to terms with the devastating events that affected them all. And, you know, it's a bit of an anomaly that those young boys hated the glare of the media, as did her mother on certain occasions, but the public were clamoring for them to be back in it in order to ostensibly show the people that they really cared. I don't see that they're having a private time as a family showed that they didn't care.
No, but the royal family, surely one of its main functions is to lead public in times of grief or in times of joy, and if they don't play that role, even though they're personally affected in this way, then really they are not doing their duty. At least that seemed to be the feeling in Britain, and it seemed to be the feeling that caught up with them when they came out.
And I think it was a complete turnaround, and I thought Her Majesty's address yesterday was a masterpiece. It was beautifully and flawlessly delivered, and it wasn't just spoken from the heart, but it was a heart-to-heart message. I think her message to the people was what the people wanted, not only what they wanted to hear and needed to hear, but it's also what she wanted and needed to say. And I think they really turned that right around. And I don't know that they would have done it before they did, even though perhaps there was the feeling that the media and perhaps the British government brought pressure upon them. But I think that
Do you think it's turned around permanently, or do you think that once... Because I was struck by something Jeffrey Archer said when he was speaking with Alison Smith earlier in our coverage. He said, next week when everybody's gone home and we're standing here and we realize that Diana is no more, it's really going to hit us. And I think it is really going to hit the British people. And then they are going to recap in their minds the week's events of this past week. And I'm not sure that the royal family turned it around. They turned it around for the moment, clearly, but I'm not sure they turned it around completely.
Well, Her Majesty said that there were lessons to be learned from this. She didn't specifically say what they were, but I think she opened the gate for some changes to be made. But I don't think there will be a dramatic departure from the protocol that goes with the royal trappings, but certainly there will be, I think, a difference of thinking and attitude that we'll see, and I think it began yesterday.
And one of the problems, I suppose, because everybody knows the disappointment the royal family felt with Diana and the breakup of the marriage with Prince Charles, and so knowing that and then seeing that they hadn't come out at a time when people believed they should have, they may have put those two things together and thought, well, because of their own personal disappointment as a family, they're now not acting as the royal family should at a moment of national grief.
Well, it's a sad commentary on human nature, but it's also a fact of human behavior, that people seem to feel better, either collectively or individually, when they can point the finger of blame at somebody. And they wanted to, they were angry, as Her Majesty said, they were upset, they were devastated, they were distraught, and they felt, you know, they wanted to blame just about everybody, and not only the driver of the car, all the circumstances.
Well, it started off with the paparazzi, then it was the driver of the car, then the royal family, and.
But it started to. There was a groundswell of anger, and eventually, for some, they brought in the royal family because they appeared by their absence and silence to be not caring, but. They're human. They're a family as well, and they were grieving, and they were hurting. I really believe that.
All right, George, stand by if you would, please. Now, let's go back to London, where the CBC's Anne McMillan joins us from along the procession route. Anne is near Buckingham Palace. Hello, Anne. Can you hear me? Oh, yes, I see you. Anne, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Now, enormous crowds have been around Buckingham Palace where you are for days, and I'm sure it's growing even as we speak, but it seems, and I would think it probably true, very quiet, even though there are an enormous number of people there.
Yes, it is very quiet. There's still this mood of quiet grief, but with a bit of anticipation, I think, today, Don, we could say. It's interesting because the police had estimated up to 6 million people coming into London for the occasion, and everybody was prepared for huge traffic jams this morning. In fact, the roads are fairly empty, and I came in by subway about half an hour ago, and the subway train was reasonably full but not overcrowded, and I asked one of the guards how traffic had been, and he said, well, he thought a lot of people came into the town, into London last night, and he said a lot of people are coming in by train and by going to the end of the subway routes, parking their cars and coming in by tube, as they call it. But he said it's pretty crowded, but perhaps not quite as crowded as they expected.
Now, Buckingham Palace, refresh my mind, because they've changed the route of the procession, but as I recall from my notes, the coffin does not go by Buckingham Palace until after the service of Westminster Abbey, is that right?
No, it's going to come by before because of the changes.
Right.
And it's now about 10 to 8 in London.
Mm-hmm.
The coffin probably won't come past here until about 10:15, so about 2.5 hours from now. And you can see this pretty good-sized crowd, so we probably will have even more people by then. Just beyond here, in the mall, they will, the official mourners will join the procession. They will walk behind the coffin of the Princess of Wales. Amongst those people will be representatives from all her charities and her brother, the Earl Spencer, and also, we think, Prince Charles, Prince William, and Prince Harry.
And that's when, if they do walk behind, they will join there. They will not start at Kensington Palace and do the whole route. I guess that would be a pretty long walk.
That would be a very long walk, and it would slow things down rather a lot. No, they will just walk probably, I think it's about just 1.4 kilometers from the mall right by St. James's Palace down to Westminster.
And tell me about the mood again, because we were talking here just before we came to you, whether or not the royal family had been able to turn around on a permanent basis the reaction against them earlier in the week by the Queen's speech yesterday. We saw in your reports last night that people seem to have changed their mind after listening to the Queen at the moment. But is this a permanent turnaround, or do you think, as Jeffrey Archer was saying to Alison Smith earlier, that once everybody's gone home and the reality sets in, the British people are going to have a terrible shock and may again be looking for scapegoats?
Well, who knows? Because who could have predicted last Sunday the sort of emotion that would have been pouring out on the streets of London, and all those 1 million, we think, bouquets of flowers that have been laid at various royal palaces around the capital. So, I mean, I must say I was incredibly surprised, A, by the criticism that suddenly emerged about the flags not flying at half-mast over Buckingham Palace, even though that's a thing that goes against protocol, and also just general feeling that the Queen and the family hadn't been sharing their grief. Last night I was again surprised by the fact that the minute the Queen made her 3.5-minute speech, everybody in the crowd just about said, okay, she's done it, good, you know, we love her. So at the moment there seems to be support. I guess it depends a little bit on what happens with Prince Charles over the next few months. And I think people really have a lot of goodwill towards Prince William, who is, of course, going to be the future heir. So I'm not so sure that there's going to be a horrible backlash and people are going to get disillusioned again. At the moment, things look pretty good.
All right. Anne McMillan, thanks for this. Talk to you later.
Okay.
Nancy?
Well, Dawn, as Anne was telling us, among the many people who will be joining the formal funeral procession are the people that worked in the many charities and causes that Diana championed. One of the causes close to Diana's heart was the plight of landmine victims. The CBC's Paul Hunter reports on Diana's campaign against landmines and the Canadian connection.
She was an international ambassador for human welfare, never more than a tender touch away from the suffering and the weak. Her caring and her glamour could focus attention like a laser, and Diana knew it.
My hope is that between us all, and what a great team it's been, that we've been able to draw attention to the subject.
This year saw the Princess champion a new cause, a growing and global movement to ban anti-personnel landmines. The campaign took Diana to Angola last January for a first-hand look at the horrors of landmines and the plight of their victims. It's estimated more than 100 million mines are buried around the world. They can cost as little as $3 to make, but claim a more terrible toll. Some 26,000 people, mostly civilians, are killed or maimed by them every year.
Diana's contributions to the awareness of the landmines issue were tremendous.
Back in this country, Diana's efforts to ban landmines are called not only tremendous, but effective.
Just by virtue of who she is, her persona, and the enormous interest the public had in her, and also her decision, her conscious decision to support this particular initiative, brought that influence to bear. And she was able to bring the landmines issue into the homes of millions of people who would otherwise probably not have been exposed to it.
There's no doubt the Princess of Wales gave the campaign a more human face, but it was Canada and Foreign Affairs Minister Lloyd Axworthy who forced the issue politically and diplomatically. Last October, Ottawa hosted a conference of 50 nations on it, all dedicated to banning the use, manufacture, sale, and stockpiling of landmines. It became known as the Ottawa Process and helped earn Axworthy a nomination for this year's Nobel Peace Prize. This week, he called Diana's death a blow to the cause.
Because she was able to use her worldwide presence to give recognition to this issue, and it made a very important factor in helping to move the landmines momentum to where it is now, which I think is going very well.
Less than a month ago, the Princess continued her campaign against landmines with a visit to Bosnia, and again, it was a personal one-to-one approach, matched with a dose of royal grace. Later, she wrote a landmines activist about her concerns.
Their tragic stories, she wrote, are a desperately sad reflection of man's inhumanity to man. The victims I met and their senselessly inflicted injuries have stiffened my resolve to ensure that their needs for care and support are not overlooked in the search for an agreement to outlaw landmines.
That search for agreement took another step this week in Norway, ironically just days after Diana's death. Delegates from more than 100 nations have gathered to continue the Ottawa process, and they began their talks with a 1-minute tribute of silence for the Princess. If a treaty banning landmines can be reached in Oslo, it will formally be signed in Ottawa in December, and there are many who believe agreement is possible. If so, a growing chorus of voices wants the accord to be named for the woman who made such a difference. Paul Hunter, CBC News.
Well, Dawn, as we know, Foreign Affairs Minister Lloyd Axworthy will be Canada's representative at today's funeral, but certainly he had a formidable ally in Diana on the landmines issue, and it will be an interesting measure of Diana's legacy if, in fact, there is real progress and possibly by December enough countries on side to sign a global ban on landmines.
That's right, and that will happen here in Ottawa. And an interesting irony, and a sad irony, of course, as all of this story is so sad, but Axworthy was going to London this week, and he was hoping to see Princess Diana. He had written to her, and he wanted to see her on this landmines issue, and now here he is instead going to London to attend her funeral.
Right. Time now to recap what has been an extraordinary week. The first news of the Paris car crash came last Saturday night, and it was, of course, hours before the magnitude of the tragedy emerged. The somber statement that Diana was dead stunned Britain and the world. We put together a chronology of the past week, and amidst all the searing images we've seen, one of the saddest was last Sunday as Diana's body was brought back to England.
She was a wonderful and a warm human being. Though her own life was often sadly touched by tragedy, she touched the lives of so many others in Britain, throughout the world, with joy and with comfort. How many times shall we remember her, in how many different ways? With the sick, the dying, with children, with the needy. When with just a look or a gesture that spoke so much more than words, she would reveal to all of us the depth of her compassion and her humanity. You know how difficult things were for her from time to time. I'm sure we can only guess at, but the people everywhere, not just here in Britain, everywhere, they kept faith with Princess Diana. They liked her, they loved her. They regarded her as one of the people. She was the people's princess. And that's how she will stay, how she will remain in our hearts and in our memories forever.